Nigeria is too big and too sophisticated and deserves more respect from the world than to be ruled by a drug-dealing, election-rigging, bigoted man. Now, with that said, I measure Nigeria's morality like this. I may be exaggerating it. I'll say it in Igbo first, then I'll translate it. The way that I see morality in Nigeria is the man, Adezuki Ibie, the lady, Adezuki Ibie, which means the man doesn't steal or embezzle like the real big embezzlers. The woman doesn't steal or embezzle like the real big embezzlers. Nigerians don't measure morality by saying this person is good and they stick with their morals. There's a reason for that. Us who live in diaspora have been out 47 years. Many of you know how many years you've been out. Us who live in diaspora must be fair to ourselves when we evaluate our so-called morality. If we never left Nigeria, meaning that all we did was, at best, travel out of Nigeria, spend some time and go back home, but our base is Nigeria, and the basis for acquiring our values 100% is Nigeria, some of us will be worse than the people who live in Nigeria. Many of us, because we've seen them go home and get worse. That was just an intro, but it leads you to what I talked about later. And I'll address what I just introduced in full towards the end. Please stay tuned and watch this to the end. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Fred Wanko Ezudo Ezenwafosi Ajalebia, publisher, African Lifestyle Magazine, Chicago. Wanfo Nde Chicago Jemba. Onya Chukukosi. Hey! Esi we ndo. State one in Amaratana. Oh, we will want another in the way. Any mama no, any mama no. When I'm a dog, you man, the low one. Alamalaman. Woman, one day, I take you low. Woman, one day, you know what
Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wanko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And as usual, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world.
Kaikene Fred Wanko Ezudo Ezenwafosi Ajalebia, publisher, African Lifestyle Magazine, Chicago.
As you can see, today our program is taking a different style. We're coming in with our introduction, making a lot of appeals up front. As you watch the program today, look at the captions, look at the title, look at all the different headings we have along the way. And try and think about them, even if I don't go into details about the captions and the headings. Let them captivate you to think. Think about our country. The first part of that thought process is to get your mind off the myopic, nitty-picky things you're doing and think about the big picture about 2027. Don't look at a perfect coalition to get rid of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Think about a coalition that can achieve that goal. When we cross the bridge of getting rid of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then we face the second bridge, which is dealing with what kind of leaders do we want to elect moving forward. But until you get rid of this drug dealer, you can't be too picky about how to go about it. All you need to do is think about if the new crop of the old gang are more conscientious than the crooks that occupy the house today. But before you do that, before you get deep into this, do me a favor. Part of your support for this program is to help it grow. To help it grow, you need to like the program after you're done watching. There's a symbol there that says click on it, and it says you like it. If you don't like it, click on the symbol that's there and show that you don't like it. It doesn't matter what kind of reaction, we just want to see reaction. After you've liked it, share the program. After you share the program, don't just share it with your bosom buddies. Share it with your not-so-bosom buddies, because they may be the ones who like it enough to share it into a place where it goes viral. This is not time to be looking at this thing from the standpoint of, I'm not going to help him grow. Why wouldn't you help a good thing grow? But before I get into talking about 2027 and how to get rid of this drug kingpin and the new coalition and the strange bedfellows that make up the coalition, I'm going to introduce it with an epidemic that's plaguing our youth. And it's only going to get worse, because if your leader is bad, your youth are going to follow that leader, because the youth admire dirty things. It's part of being youthful and exuberant in your youth. If your president is a drug dealer and a drug kingpin, the drug epidemic in your country is likely going to grow astronomically. So take a look at this short video about a drug epidemic that's plaguing Lagos. It's going to spread across the country. The country copies Lagos. And after we do that, we'll come back and continue.
These young people here are getting high on kolos. It's a mix of marijuana and chemicals that's becoming increasingly popular among youth in Lagos. We're filming secretly how it is sold on the streets.
Right.
How much is one bag? 1,000. That's only about 50 cents. Why is this different than marijuana?
Yes.
It's stronger?
Yeah, it's stronger.
Drug abuse in Nigeria ranks among the highest worldwide, yet the most recent official data is outdated. According to a 2018 estimate, around 14 million Nigerians misuse drugs. However, experts in drug prevention warn that the actual number could be much higher, potentially reaching as many as 40 million people. The dealers could not tell us exactly what kind of chemicals are in kolos. The makeup varies from batch to batch. Medics say they often contain heavy metals, which can be life-threatening.
There's a bit of marijuana in it, about 10 to 11% of it is marijuana. The other components are chemicals and herbs. I know what chemicals and herbs do. They will destroy the vital organs, the kidneys, the liver, and then the brain.
Kolos is cheap, very addictive, and available everywhere.
The thing that bothers me is the fact that you can get it anywhere. You don't have to look far. Sometimes you can stay in your house and get it. You make a phone call to a dealer, it delivers.
The use of synthetic drugs like kolos is also being glamorized everywhere. From social media feeds to music videos, drug abuse is made to look cool and tempting to millions. Experts warn of a drug epidemic but lament that other policy issues, namely Nigeria's dire economic and security situation, caused the crisis to be overlooked.
Now to my main topic. Is Nigeria better in the hands of Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Or is Nigeria better in the hands of Peter Obi? Or is Nigeria better in the hands of Abubakar Atiku? Those are rhetorical questions you don't have to answer. But those are questions I want to prick your conscience with. In the last few days, a coalition emerged in Nigeria to form a new political party called ADC. ADC is a party of Nigeria's opposition heavyweights from across the board, with more expected to join. The last 2+ years, except for the bigots of Nigeria and the cabal-pocketed Igbos of Nigeria and other cabal-pocketed people from across the states of Nigeria, but amongst the progressive thinking Nigerians, regardless of what tribe they come from, they're in agreement that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government is not good for Nigeria for several reasons. One is that they're clueless. Two is that Nigeria is too big and too sophisticated and deserves more respect from the world than to be ruled by a drug-dealing, election-rigging, bigoted man. Now, with that said, I measure Nigeria's morality like this. I may be exaggerating it. I'll say it in Igbo first, then I'll translate it. The way that I see morality in Nigeria is the man, Adezuki Ibie, the lady, Adezuki Ibie, which means the man doesn't steal or embezzle like the real big embezzlers. The woman doesn't steal or embezzle like the real big embezzlers. Nigerians don't measure morality by saying this person is good and they stick with their morals. There's a reason for that. Us who live in diaspora have been out 47 years. Many of you know how many years you've been out. Us who live in diaspora must be fair to ourselves when we evaluate our so-called morality. If we never left Nigeria, meaning that all we did was, at best, travel out of Nigeria, spend some time and go back home, but our base is Nigeria, and the basis for acquiring our values 100% is Nigeria, some of us will be worse than the people who live in Nigeria. Many of us, because we've seen them go home and get worse. What am I trying to say? People learn what they live. The last generation of Nigerians that saw a society with a semblance of morality and ethics are all over 60 years old. I remember when my father was alive, and sometimes he'll have the driver from the ministry do some errands for him. And I remember my mom taking her time about some of those errands, like going to the market, and my dad telling her, that driver must leave by 3 o'clock, regardless of what you haven't done. And he stuck with it. I remember a generation of leaders in Nigeria that never parked the government car in their house. The driver goes to the office, brings the car to the house, pick them up, take them to work, drop them off, and takes the car back to the office. They do their social visits in their own cars. If they can afford a driver, they pay a different driver to drive them during those hours. If they can't, they drive themselves. I remember a generation of permanent secretaries and commissioners in Nigeria who retired on their salary. Many did not acquire properties across the state and across the country. They thought they were moral. Among those ethical and moral civil servants that are retired, the ones that are alive today, if their children are not doing well, they are destitute. If you give them $50, you cry watching them hug and thank you. And you know the thank you is not just a normal thank you. It's the thank you that indicates that I wasn't sure how I was going to survive the next month. That's how decadent our morals and values in Nigeria has become. I say all that to say this. In this new coalition that just got built, we must not be looking. We must not be looking for a team of the most morally sound Nigerians. I'm ashamed to say that. But what we should be looking for is a team of the most conscientious, a combination of the most conscientious, corrupt Nigerians. The operative word being conscientious, mixed with some very good righteous Nigerians who are determined to bring about a better, more equitably, fairly run country. Many of those conscientious, corrupt Nigerians are only corrupt because all they see to survive is the corruption that they have access to implementing. But they know that if the structures are there to penalize that corruption, they will not be corrupt. They will play by the rules. That's the difference between conscientious, corrupt Nigerians who I don't endorse and the grossly unethical devil-may-care team that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assembled to run Nigeria with him. The question now and the challenge now to anybody watching me is, are you going to pout and sit around and look for the perfect scenario before you embrace a group that is capable of changing our plight in 2027? Or are you going to let your common sense guide you and determine that for 2027, we need to take the best of bad people and hold them accountable to become better? Or are you going to sit around and say, until I have perfection, I don't give a rat's ass if the country burns down? Peter Obi is my preference for becoming president of Nigeria. And I strongly believe that if Peter Obi insists on running alone with Dati Ahmed and their obedient movement, that they can win this next election. But that's if the election is run fairly and squarely. The reality is that you and I know that regardless of what happens, there's going to be some bullying and some election rigging. The only coalition capable of standing APC fire for fire is a united coalition that includes Peter Obi and Atiku and El Rufai and all of them put together, and showing these people that we know what your game is and we are going to stop you, and if it takes fire and if it takes blood, that's what it's going to be. But you are not going to rig this election. If Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to be president in 2027, let him squarely win the election, and I will squarely give my support to him if that's what Nigerians want. Again, I say all that to say this. The way things are shaping out, the person who will emerge as the presidential candidate, if this coalition succeeds, is up in the air. We don't know who. But regardless of who it's going to be, they all know the value of Peter Obi. And for those who may criticize Peter Obi, if he decides to play ball in the interest of saving the country and take a minor step back, I don't think he should. I think Peter Obi is the best qualified candidate to be president in 2027. Or what if? A big what if. What if the decision becomes that Peter Obi should let Atiku be the flag bearer while Peter Obi becomes the vice presidential candidate, so that they can ensure that they could wrap up a significant amount of votes in the north and wrap up a significant amount of votes in the southeast and south-south, and split the votes enough in the southwest to counter Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What if that is the only path to defeating Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027? Should we, the obedience, insist that it must be Peter Obi? Or should we really take a step back and evaluate the entire picture and look for what's, one, in the best interest of well-meaning progressive Nigerians, and two, what's the surest path to getting the drug dealer out of Asha Rock? These are questions we really need to think deeply about. These are the things that are going to help determine where our country goes in 2027. There are a lot of people who I like a lot and respect a lot who are going to pontificate otherwise. But a time comes when I believe that common sense should rule. That time is now. This election is about defeating a drug kingpin, an election rigging president, and a bigot that would knock heads together, divide and conquer just to stay in office. I'll appreciate your thoughts. I'll appreciate if you share this video. I'll appreciate if you like this video. And finally, as I move on with my videos, if you look at other videos that you like that are political like mine, this is what I do. Not for a living completely, but it's part of what I do for a living. And the only way I can continue focusing and researching and bringing you the kind of material I bring you is that I need your support. I don't want you to subscribe to Bold Talk on Allen TV with $1,000 a year. I don't want you to subscribe to Bold Talk with $50 a year. I don't want you to subscribe with $500 a year. But if you like what we do, based on what floats your boat, support our programming by giving us your weekly support so that we're spending more time chasing shadows in the name of trying to make other incomes here and there to keep things going, and focus on developing Bold Talk to the point where we could have a programming where you call into the show and give your opinion. We're working on all that. Send us your $5 a week. Send us your $10 a week. Send us your $20 a week. They all add up. I watch some of these programs and I see the weekly contributions coming in. I see $2, I see $5, I see $50, I see $200. All those things is what makes a public service programming grow. In America, the popular one is WTTW, which is public programming. That's how they survive. $5 here, $10 here, $1 million here. It all adds up. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Monko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.